Hello, good afternoon, and good to see you. A lot of people who's already been waiting for quite a long time, and extremely sorry, apologies for starting. I think 2-3 minutes late, or maybe 5 minutes late. That's because of some last-minute technical glitch. We all have technical issues now because of working from home. Never imagined that we would be stuck at home for almost 4 months now. A lot of people like me must have not had the right hardware at home, but we're still managing to live with it. So today, this is going to be a little interesting, and we're doing a flame webinar after a long time, and I'm very excited to do this because it's been a while, or maybe I don't remember when was this last time when we did a flame webinar, because it's always been an event, a closed event with all the super users attending in most of our cities, followed by Q&A and around good dinner. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that anymore for a long time now, and we waited for long. But then this is the new normal. So let's enjoy this. So before we start, I hope every one of you guys are safe, and hope you guys are working from home. And thank you so much, guys. A lot of you guys have written some positive feedback to us about the webinar, about the quality of content, about the presentation, and so. Thank you so much, guys, and really appreciate. So this time, what we're going to do is little differently. We're going to do Flame webinar. Unfortunately, as I spoke, I don't have a right hardware, and we all know that Flame works either on a Linux or a Mac. Somehow for this webinar, I managed to dig into my 6-7-year-old Mac laptop, in which I can do quite a lot of things, and the rest of the thing would be more like a video presentation. So cool. I'm going to jump to the safe harbor statement, which we generally talk about in the beginning of all our presentation. That's to say that in case if you guys are planning to make any decision based on today's presentation and all, you guys have the right to decide yourself and then take a call. Yes, it's been a while. We didn't do any event, and Flame 2021 released a month and a half back or something like that. I don't really remember the exact date. So that was the release of Flame 2021. Unfortunately, we did the same launch of Flame 2021 online, like how I'm doing it now. And on 25th of June, we also launched the Flame 2021.1. So we have two interesting versions to talk about. I mean, the features are not too much, but whatever features we have are quite interesting and very helpful for the artists who are working on Flame or who wish to work on Flame and wants to do things or job quickly with a very shorter turnaround time. And we all know that we don't have the liberty of time, especially during the in the online industry, where the director or the producer is sitting right behind you and instructing you on how on their requirement. And Flame is also, that's the reason Flame is called as the customer facing system, where an artist, you guys do it on the fly in front of the customers, and that's why the clients, the directors, love Flame so much. So what's been there in the Flame 2021? We have couple of things for the compositors like physical defocus, GPU racks defocus, etc. We have the AI was introduced in 2019 itself, which got much more enhanced in 2020. In 21 has some more enhanced features like face part extractions, new schematic here, and so on. For colorist, there is Explorer, grade effects, and reference bin, and effect tab enhancements. And for Flame artists, for the entire Flame artist, we have the Dolby de facto Dolby Vision HDR authoring and display mechanism, and now with 2021. And as I said, on 25th of July, we also introduced the Flame 2021.1, in which we also enhanced the Explorer, the Effects tab, compare modes, and some few additional media format supports. So let's just quickly deep dive into our demo. It's been a long while we haven't done the demo. So I already have my flame. Okay, let me just see if there is anyone pinging and asking about some questions, which generally I forget to see. All right. So before I launch Flame, I don't know how many of you guys had the opportunity to actually see Flame 2021. I know a lot of you guys must have done, but if you don't have the right hardware, because this got launched after the lockdown, and if you don't have the right hardware and if you're not going to office, then I know it's a difficult task. But when I did this 1.5 months back, and I was extremely happy to see the interface, the welcome Flame 2021 interface. uh, we always are used to seeing international jobs, people from all over the world, like the topmost flame guys sharing their imageries, and we have their names and their images shared. But when you launch Flame for the first time, not for the first time, generally when you launch Flame, you have this welcome interface, which also takes you to the basics or what's new videos, which is linked to the Grand K videos. But the interesting part is the image, which you can see, the small robot, the cute looking robot, was done by our own flame artist Parag Jambekar. He won the He's one of the winners of the one frame of white contest, which was held last year. And we also have a couple of more winners, but Parag's image was selected. He was the first winner, I guess. Yeah. And the Autodesk development team decided to use his image as the welcome image, and entire image, whatever you can see, is being created inside Flame. And that was the most challenging and most liked about by everyone, that this looks 3D. And most of the people who saw this said that this was done in 3ds Max or Maya, whatever. But no, this was completely done inside Flame by Parag. So hats off to you, Parag, and congratulations once again. All right, so you have an option to never show this startup menu, but I generally prefer to keep it. I like it so much, so I just keep it. So all right, I'm showing 2021.1. There are a couple of interface changes and all. I'm going to take you a tour of that, and then post that I'm going to explain you how in production or with the live demo materials, we can have a look at it. So first things first, I hope you guys can see my interface. Yes, I guess. I'm just going to see if somebody has some questions to ask. No one. Perfect. Yeah. We all know that we have some interface enhancements always. Most of the people who have not seen even 2020, just to let them know that when you press Control and try to hide your menus, that is the library, desktop, and all, it does that. And the same thing when you do Control Shift and swipe it down, the timeline menu becomes much more longer than before, because earlier it used to be only this much. But when you want the, if you're working with multi layers, multi audios, you can extend the timeline menu or extend the desktop, whatever you want, depending on your requirement. Now at the same time, when you press Control and swipe on the right, you have a new tab which is called as the reference and the timeline effects. That's something new and very interesting. You can also go inside the preference menu, that is the file menu, and you can say show explorer and show explorer off. Now it looks very simple, but then it's very handy. So let's talk about the explorer, how it's useful for a colorist. Okay, I'm just going to show you a small bit and then jump to the the uh, the the real world demo done by shown by our team. So first of all, I have some 3 clips. As I said, no great materials with me, because I was not prepared for the lockdown. So somehow I managed to get some footages from Grand K, and this is what I have. I quickly spliced this 3 clips. It can be 4, 5, it can be your entire timeline, really doesn't matter. All what matters is you have some footages. Now when you go inside the effects tab, which is in the bottom of the timeline, next to the timeline tab, for people who have seen the effects tab earlier, are aware of it, that it's a grading tool. We already have the effects tab, in which we have the color correction, okay, which is the most traditional color correction tool we always had. But now Just to give you a quick introduction about effects tab, it's a grading tool because it works in sync with what we had in Luster. Not just primary, because if you want to do color correction and you're working on the primary, you're working on the overall clip, you can also go inside and say click here, and you have secondaries, which means like it's similar to color whopper, but color whopper had just 3 secondaries, but now inside the effect tab you have almost 1 to 8. When I click on the next, you have 9 to 16. When I click on the next, to 17 to 24, etc., etc., and you have 48 secondaries, which means you can go up to 48 layers to do your color enhancements, color grading, DI, and so on. And doesn't necessarily mean that on one of the layers you can just have one secondaries. You can have multiple secondaries. For example, if I have a color, okay, and this is a color which I have, and maybe a cool tone, I like it, and I want one of the faces, for example the center female, the face has to look little darker or little brighter or whatever. So instead of me doing it on the main clip, main layer, I can take another secondary, okay, and on the secondary I can add a Gmask, okay. I can use a circle. Gmask has a circle, square, horizontal, or whatever. I'll just say maybe a circle, and it just pops in. If you want to make it smaller, like, we have the tools like Maya inside Flame as well. Like you press W, it gives you the transformation. Sorry, E for scale, R for rotate, and T for transformation. So I can move my Gmask anywhere I want. So here I'm just going to keep it like this, and if I want to make it like oval, just do this. It already has some kind of a softness with it, and I can maybe enhance the brightness, make it darker, whatever I want to do, I can do it very quickly. Right now, the whole idea of this is to give secondaries, but that was not the whole point of me to do to do the secondary, because we've already done a couple of sessions before Flame. This was launched in 2020, where you know how to add a Gmask, and if the footage is moving, I'm not going to scrub it a lot because of the performance issues, but you can see the Gmask needs to track this female's face. So what you would do is select the trackers and go ahead and track it, which is most of the time very traditional way of working, which we have been doing this for years now. We don't want to do that, but I just wanted to show that we have one secondary, and then if you have another secondary, maybe for something else, like say, I'm just going to say add a matchbox, okay, and what matchbox do you want is maybe a blur. Looks very simple. I can add some amount of blur to it, maybe 5 and 5, okay, and if I want, I can again add a circle for maybe her face only and scale it down. So now you know that there is a face Gmask for the center girl. There is a blur effect on the third secondary, and so on. Now, why am I showing you that? Is in case, okay, let me just go to the primary one and make it more obviously blue, okay, so that we know what we're talking about. And let's enhance this fair lady, make it more fairer, and this one is obviously blur. It looks fine. Now I can select this image icon and drag it to the other one, or drag it to all the text now, and jump into this, and you can see very closely you have this Gmask here, because this image will definitely have this all shapes. I've just dragged an image which carries all the effects with it to the another segment. I'm just going to undo it now. The best way, and this is something which everyone requested for, also I could have in the beginning, like when I go inside the timeline view and I see that this is the image, and if I want to save this image, you could save it on any one of your reels, or maybe on your batch reels, and so on. Now in this new 2021, you can just click on, just swipe it on the right, okay, press Control and swipe. You have something called as timeline effects. Now this is your effects tab, okay. Now this will allow you to save your your grades. Okay, save your grade. It's like a grade bin in Lustre, very handy, so that it allows you to save your color. And you can also organize this. Either you can just drag and drop it and leave it here, and as soon as you leave, it allows you to rename it. So I can say master color and just hit enter, and you can see it has already been saved as a master color grade bin. Now I can either directly apply it on a new clip or directly jump to the new clip. Maybe I'll just take this for example and apply this and drop it on the shot. It works either ways. Okay, this is not a clip. This is not a clip. This is basically your metadata, your effects, which get saved along with a thumbnail, so that you can see it at any given point of time and know what your effects are all about. You can also arrange it. For example, okay, before that, now when I apply this, you can see that it comes along with all these secondaries. For example, the G mask here and the blur effect here and so on, right? I don't want all of them. So what I can also do is when I go back onto the first shot and try to save it, you can either click the image and drag and save it, or you can also select the secondary, that is number 1, number 2, or number 3, and drag and drop it here. So secondary number 1 had only a color, so I can say cool color, and number 2 had the matte for her face, so I can drag and drop it and say okay, uh, face mask. Okay, so mask. Okay, so this way, okay, this was already there, so I'm just going to say add. Fine. Now if I go to another clip, okay, maybe this or that, okay, it doesn't really matter. I can just drag and drop. I won't get the color, but I'll just get the matte. Okay, in case if you have similar mattes for multiple scenes, like for example, I'll show you some examples later in the demo part, or else what I can do is I can just import the color, and it really doesn't let you, it will ask you that if you want to have only the selective matchbox shaders or whatever, I can just say just the selective. Okay, so it will give me the cool look or selectives, whatever. Something maybe it didn't work well, so I can just make it replace all. Yeah, it says it just replace the color and nothing else. You can see even in the secondaries here, it's just the color tone which are. So in this way you can have your secondaries um, move to your other shots. Okay, if you want only your secondaries, you can just move your secondaries. If you want only your primary layer, you can just move your primary layer, and so on. So let's see how actually it works in a real-time environment with one of the demo materials. So this is our Flame 2021. This is a live demo from Will Harris. This was a launch video. I'm just going to talk about it quickly. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to jump to the other part. This is the next section of the video. Yeah, so for example, in many cases you also have your offline online to compare with. You have your grades to match with certain shots and so on. Also in 2021 we introduced something called as the reference compare option. Inside Flame 2021 there's also another option where you can see when you go inside the grade, you have multiple layouts now. You just don't have the player, you just don't have the color grading tool. You also have your timeline effects on the left or the right. You have your libraries, everything. So you have options of having your default view. So you can set up your viewport in a way where you have multiple interfaces. You can just choose your interfaces where you want the manager view on the right and the timeline effects on the left, or you want to shift to a compare view, or you want to shift to any kind of view. So you have the layout option in between where you can just toggle and keep your interface ready. You don't always have to go to the preference menu to keep toggling through your interface every time you need a new interface to work with. For example, most of us work with the scopes, so you go to the option and to the preference menu, switch on the scopes and so on. All you don't need to do is you can just have your layout set and name the layouts. Now when you go inside the timeline effects tab, you can see these are on the left hand side. Earlier when I was working, it was on the right. I just purposely kept it on the right. People are comfortable using the left side of the tab as well. What you can really do is you can just do a secondary, okay, over the shot by changing the colors, which we already saw in the previous example of the thing. But if you want to choose a background and match the colors, you can very easily do it with the compare tool. So all you need to do is you grab your reference, and that reference gets saved on the timeline effects. You can see on the left hand side there are images which you have saved it as reference. So when you click on this and say compare, you want a vertical split, you want a horizontal split, or and then you can choose which reference image do you want to save it, you want to see it in the background. You can just have a comparison, and based on that you can do your grades. For example, if a customer comes with you as a sample image and say, can you just match the grade, and I want to see it before and after, like, you know, next to each other, you can just zoom these reference images, pan this reference images, and based on that what you can do is select your original clip. Although the reference image can be of low quality, it really doesn't matter. It's just a very handy tool to compare it side by side and just do your grades and try to match it as close as possible and show it to your client that, okay, this is how it's going to look like. So the reference image is very handy tool. You can either grab it by pressing Ctrl G on the viewport of any of the layers in the on the timeline, or you can just import it from the web, from the net, whatever, and just save it as the reference image. Control G is the hotkey to create a new reference image. You can see it gets saved on the reference folder, which is sitting next to the timeline effects. So yep, moving forward, when you want to start grading the shots, and when you see that in some of your shots you have it can be an array log file, it can be a raw file, or it can be a dpxs or whatever. The whole idea is to control your your colors, and you just match the colors and then apply to the entire timeline. For example, in this case, if you have a cool color which was already created, and from the grade bin you have multiple options, you can just drag and drop each one of them to show to the customer that this is what you would like to see, and if it's approved, you can just drag and drop it to all the other shots. Let's see in some particular shots, like this one where you have the window which is overexposed, right? So the advantage of having an effects tab, having the effects tool, which is the grading tool, is if you reduce the brightness, it reduces the brightness of the entire image, which really is not what we want. We just want to work on the small portion of the screen. So in that case, as I just mentioned, you can have multiple secondaries set for each of these windows to reduce the brightness or the exposure of that image in that particular area. Now, and that can be moved to other layers as well. So in this example, let's say we go to the manager tool and apply a G mask by just right clicking and applying a G mask. When you say selective, you can see there are new options of circle, square, and all, which we just saw it either by right clicking or just using it from the interface. And when you have the selective done, apply to the right area, all you need to do is reduce the brightness, which reduces the intensity or the exposure only for that particular portion of the entire scene. We can also do the same for another secondary, which is going to be the other window. Okay, and as you can see, you can just drag and drop, or maybe create a new shape, and the square can be exclusively for the window area. And when you just make it smaller and adjust it to the size of the window, it only fits to the window. And that's how you're going to, you're going to work with it. All you need to do is just make sure that it fits. If you want to track, that's been there for a long time. Just imagine if you want to change, if you want to copy the same grades to the other layers as well. Okay. And if you just want to save that image, this is exactly how we did in the previous uh, demo, when I showed you the software part. You can just drag and drop your image layer into the timeline effects and move that back to this clip. So what will happen is, there are two ways. As I said, it can bring you all the colors, it can bring you all the grades along with the secondaries, or you can just get the grade and have your own secondaries uh, created, because maybe the shapes do not match to the next shot, or maybe the position of the secondaries which we chose is completely different in a different environment. So here, like how we create a new 3D shape, or GMAS shape, and adjusting the shape exactly like the window, and just reduce the exposure, and we get a much neater clip. And all what you do is import only the grade from the approved clip or the approved shot by the customer, and then move across the shots only the other secondaries which you need. So the color grade, you can see, has been imported from that particular shot, and the secondaries which you can see for the window has been created by us own. So that's the whole idea about having this grade bin, the new timeline effects. I generally I'm excited to call it as grade bin, because we know how Luster is a powerful grading tool, and how the Luster artists used to love the grade bin, where you can save all your default templates and just keep applying to any shots you want across the huge timeline in which you're working on. Moving ahead, let me just go back and talk about the software part once again. Yep. For the compositors, let's say, what do we have is, I'm just going to go back and select the batch. Of course, going to be a little sluggish, but it's okay. I'm just going to show something which excites us all. The first thing which I liked about is, we all know that um, inside the action is a 3D compositing environment. Most of us are flame artists, when we all are used to it now. So I'm just going to randomly creating nodes. I don't know why, but I'm just making it look more complicated and stuff like that. Okay, let me just change the font, make it slightly bigger for no reason. And what I can do is maybe go inside maps and say substance PBR. This is just for the sake of making the nodes more heavier. Okay, absolutely, that's the whole idea. So whatever I did now is nothing to do about what I'm going to talk about, so please ignore the setup. Okay, the whole idea for me to talk about is, we all have some heavy uh, action setups most of the time, right? Okay, I didn't do the bevel, so hence it looks flat. Okay, fine. Now I don't want to view the viewport anymore. The whole focus has to be on the action schematic. This is nothing. This is very simple action schematic, but you guys know your action schematic becomes really complicated. The good news is, when I saw this, I really got excited, because we had the compass tool only exclusively for the batch nodes, but now we have the compass tool even for the action nodes. For example, for all those who don't know what compass tool is, when I double click, I don't get a node, but I get my cursor, which changes into another. It's like a pen kind of a thing, where I can just draw an environment or an area which across a bunch of nodes to group it. It's like grouping, and I can say my group OUP01, and yes, this becomes a part of my group. So it's very handy and easy to move it. Just imagine earlier you had to press your alt and move the entire node. Some things misses, something you miss, and then you have to go back and stuff like that. This becomes much more handy. You can just select the whole group and move. If you want to color code it, like, just change the color so that you have multiple of these compass tools, multiple of these groups, you can arrange them in different colors. So anything goes out of the group is not a part of the group. So be very careful on moving things out of the compass tool. It has to be really not a part of the group. If it's included inside, it's a part of the group. So just a quick thing which I just wanted to show, that compass tool is now also available inside your action nodes. Now okay, not this. We have the next tool, which is called the physical defocus. It's a very interesting tool, and very accurate in terms of adding some soft defocus to multiple multiple clips with which are in 3D space, or which are which which are not in 3D space, but we have the Z depth parts of it. For example, I have a clip, I have a setup. Okay, I'm just going to do the orbit the camera and show you that these are real 3D balloons. I'm like, not real, but it's a 3D model of balloons which have PBS, like the shaders, the physical based shaders applied within the Flame software, and looks cool, looks nice, looks cute. And what we're going to do is, since these are 3D, these real 3D objects, I can go to the camera and say right click, and I'm going to say add camera effects. So when I say add camera effects, we know that we have the Stingray blooming, we have the Stingray depth of field. Now we all know that Stingray depth of field was much more faster than the depth of field which was there before, right? Now we have a physical defocus, which is again more advanced than the physical depth of field. So when I just click on this and just wait for a second for the thing to happen. Yep. And I just say live preview, and I don't want to see it in 3D view because 3D view is not going to show me the end result. And immediately you can see that I have got uh, some difference in my scene. Right, you can see the background getting blurred and the foreground is in focus. So when I click on this defocus and click on the icon, okay, the whole idea of to show you this, the software part, is so that you know where this tool sits, you know where the icons are and so on, so that I can move to the presentation part and show you the entire demonstration demo video. This is the icon which says that this is the area of focus. So if I move this icon, it's going to be a little sluggish on this system, but yeah, if I move this icon and position it somewhere in the center of the balloon, like the bunch of the balloon, the bouquet of the balloon, you can see the foreground is completely blurred. I mean, like, not completely, but yes, it is blurred, and the center one is in focus and the background is still defocused. And that's completely because all these parameters which you can see. For example, you have the focus range. You can see the Z depth pass. Okay, this is how the Z depth looks in real. You can also see the defocus area. Okay, which one is in focus, which one is getting defocused. You can also see it in splice. Splice is the area where you see that the green one is in focus, the maroon, the purple and the orange is in defocus, and the red ones is the far range, like this one, the far maximum. So if I just say 0.5, let's see, it comes closer. It's coming little bit closer. So it's reducing the range of the depth. So let me just keep it in result view, and let's say if I want to make the foreground much more blur, I can just say 0.5 and see how it looks. Yep, and you can see it blurs it tremendously. I know it looks little faker because it does not actually go with the camera inputs, but yeah, if you want to do something like that and make it more blurrish, you can do that. Not only that, you also have the bokeh options where you can go to the bokeh, and if you insist, if you want to go close and you have all the lens noises. Like for example, now the bokeh looks much more cleaner. You can have spotty to add some more dust on the bokeh. You can see how it looks. You can add some specks to have some natural looking bokeh effects, and some wood or any such thing. That's completely up to us. We can go to the highlight, focus. Yeah, the amount of the amount of slice bending and so on is can be manipulated. There was one more thing which I want to talk about is the blade numbers. I can just make it 3 so that the bouquets now start looking like a triangle stuff. And if you want to have some fancy looking bouquet, this is all what you can do. Now bouquets really don't work with just the what do you call the 3D viewports. It also works with live action footages, or it also works very well with 3D renders. For example, if you have a scene which has CG renders, you can use this physical defocus very well. So for example, in this scenario, you can see how you have I have a very high resolution spaceship, and you have a background. You have a Z depth pass, of course, of this spaceship, and then we also have the background composited to it, so that it looks much more blended to the surface. Now if you have this physical defocus connected to the foreground and the Z depth pass, okay, you can just constantly move the icons and have your focus shift from one one space to another space, or one area to another area. Right now it's in the custom mode. Okay, you can just have it in a custom mode and just keep toggling between foreground, background, and so on. Okay, you can just keep it physical. If you increase the depth of field too much, okay, it looks much more, the scale looks much more odd than the actual space of this the size of the ship. That's up to us how you want to actually make it look. But yes, if you increase the field of view, it's just going to create a very sharp or brighten the bokeh effects and so on. So this really works very well, and these are, I think, yeah, 2K footages um, running out of a laptop, not even a compositing system. The this was recorded on a Dell system 7722 or something. I don't really remember the hardware specification, but it's a Dell laptop, completely on a Linux platform, and yes, works well. You can just change the specs on the lens noise and have your own kind of blur moving from one direction to another. So this is completely a CG render, okay, and a flat image. How can it be used even with live footages? Is basically when you have footages like this where you have camera movement, and this is not a live action footage. This is a CG render which is coming out from an Arnold render of within Maya. Yes, we have multiple passes of this. You have the Z depth pass, we have the normal pass, we have the cryptomat, everything inside, and all composited with just one action node. And within the action inside the camera, we have the okay, it's composited with the background, so you have a very easy way to shift focus along with your background. So if you want the focus from one character to move to another character, and not only that, individual character also will have its own foreground and background. So if you orbit the camera and see it's a flat image, it's nothing but a flat image. But because of its different passes, it's Z depth pass and so on, you can just uh, have a look at your you can create your own fake Z depth of field basically inside the camera. um, as I said, not just between two characters, but even between one character, if their object, if your body part is slightly in front of each other, you can have a Z depth. um, the physical blur defocus works absolutely well. Now that was a CG render, but what about if you have a live action clip? Like, this is a clip which actually comes out of a film camera, a very old footage. You can see it has some weird kind of a depth of field where you have some objects extremely in foreground, some objects extremely in background. And if you want to somehow isolate this, you can use the matchbox, the depth map, which generates a Z depth pass. Uh, you all know that the matchbox has an ability to create a Z depth pass out of a um, real flat image, right? Live action footage. So this is how very quickly you can create a Z depth pass of a live action footage which does not have a Z depth pass. And quickly, if you want to add a focus to the background, you can do it. Looks very cool. And not really, you don't need to really work hard on doing a G mask to remove this from the background and then have a blur done to the scene. So this is a very handy way and very easier way of having uh, a character excluded from the foreground or the background and add ZDEP pass. So yep, and it also works with the comp. It also works with the comp, CG comp. You can just have a look at this scene where you have a matchbox being fit to a character. They're like two characters, which blue green screen, and the background has some stars and stuff in the background. And you want the foreground to be blurred or the background to be blurred. You can just manipulate the icon, and you have uh, the background defocus in a very easier way. All right, I'm just going to move to the another part of presentation. Yep, I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm going to also talk about the secondaries, like the grade bins. Inside the grade bins, we have added the new semantic keyers. If you remember, the previous version of the semantic keyer had some body extraction, face extraction, and so on. We still have it, but we have enhanced that face extraction thing to another level, level where you can extract in small minute details of the face as well. So when we select on the human face, when you go to select the secondaries of any of these character and say use semantic and say human face, within a few seconds it will just automatically analyze the entire shot and give you a face selection. Okay, now inside the face selection, we can just say you don't want the skin, but you want the yeah, obviously inverted, and you can see how nicely is this entire skin been selected. Now you don't need to track anything, you just need to move the skin, move the cursor, and it will track with the entire image. You can individually select not just the face but also the nose, the forehead, the ears. So you have tons and tons of options depending on what do you want to actually select. So inside the semantic here, you can just go inside, let's say create a new sequence, select another clip of this shouting girl, where if you remember, this is the old demo material which we also use the show how we use the normal pass extraction. Yeah, we apply an image effects and make it brighter, add some contrast, and change the look and feel of this image. But then if you want to have some more differentiation on the face, for example, you want the nose to be more brighter or something, you can just switch on the semantic here, and the human face is already selected. So if you wait for a while, you can see if you press F9, this is the selective matte mode, and will give you only the face. So whatever you're doing is only affecting the face, but not the eyebrows, not the lips, not the nothing. So you can choose what you want to work on. You want to work on the nose separately. Um, if you want the most of the time you have the nose very shiny, so you want to have some matte effect. So instead of doing a roto, you can do this. You can have a semantic here where the nose is selected and make it little matty, or add some blur to make it soften it. Most of the time you also have such challenges for the forehead of a character, so you can just select the T zone, for example, which not only selects the nose but also the forehead, and so on. So there are tons of things, including lips, including eye bags, including eyebrows, including ears, and even teeth, I guess. Yeah. So all of these you can select it in different secondaries and work on, which saves a lot of time doing sitting and doing roto. So for example, for here, if you can see in this example, we kind of trying to blur the forehead and make it much look much more smoother. Uh, Also keeping the skin properties intact. So you can see it's not completely blurring the image, but it's also keeping the 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 texture of the skin intact. And that's something which really makes this tool much more powerful for your skin enhancements, eye bag removals, and so on. So if you go ahead and see, you can just do it for your cheeks, a set of parameters for chin, cheeks, and forehead. For eyes only, if you want the eyes to be much more brighter because they've gone under the shadow of the eyebrows or something like that. You can also select the white portion of the eye. Okay, so if sometimes if you feel that the eyes are looking reddish or the eyes are not exactly looking whiter, you can select those only, and maybe try to make it much more brighter so that it stands out in the scene. And obviously it's up to us how you want to what you want to do it with that. If your client demands that you want the character eyes to be red in anger, you can do that. Or if it has to be pure white, or it's too brighter, you want to reduce the intensity, it's all up to us what you want to do with that. So similarly in this case as well, you can pick and choose what area do you want to work on. The smaller portion of the forehead, not extremely the entire forehead, which does not overlap the eyebrows, and so on. And you can also do something exclusively for the lips. You don't need to do um, a matte, sorry, like a roto or something like that. You just select the lips, the smile curves, so that you don't get those wrinkles once the character smiles. You can add some softness to it and blend it with the skin so that it looks, I know it looks more plasticky now, but the whole idea in this example is to show what all can you do with the new semantic here and the human's face extraction, and so on. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, like, you can also extract the entire body of a character, because this also allows you to not just extract a face but also the body. So if you see in the exam in the options below, you had select a face or select a body. So if you want to do a roto, and if the shot is very small and you really don't have the time to do that, you can use this tool to create a matte extracted out of this layer, and then you're good to go and do your comp, like do whatever you want to do with that matte extraction. Here we did something like a selective normal map extraction for a flat image. And if you want to change the light on the nose or add some more curves to the scene with the for a 2D object, for the 2D image, rather, I can say this is the most easiest way to do. Lastly, I think we have something which is for the Dolby output, Dolby formatting. Most of the time you have Dolby versioning, basically, is what I can say. um, we generally work with color space are different for different file formats. Like if you're working for a television ad commercial, the color space would be different, rec 709. If you're working for a OTT platform, then the color space actually changes. And if you want to work on a Dolby Dolby monitor, which has a wider range of colors, and then you want to go work with the 100 nit uh, parameters, this is how you can do. So if you have a confirm which has already been given to you, it can be a graded material which you might have graded in-house, or it can be something which has given to you, which has come to you for final compositing or post, but it was graded in some other facility. So what you can do best is, um, you can just go put it on the timeline. When you go on the timeline and just drag and see, different shots might not look the same on different monitors, right? So for example, if you're working for a Rec 709 color space versus you're working for a higher color space, both the gamuts will be totally different. Hence, you would like to work with something which which actually fulfills the color space of a higher monitor, and so on. So you have a new tab. I'm just going to wait for this to load. Yep. So when you just import the colors, the color tone or any base color look which you have added may not look exactly the same, because the bottom one you can see is the Dolby color space, and it might not meet the requirement. So what you can do is, if you want to work in the actual 100 nit color space within the Dolby standards, you now have the capacity, like, just go inside, just change the timeline. Yeah. So we're changing the clip. I think this clip needs to be changed. Okay, let me just see. Okay, so when you compare the Rec 709 color space versus the Dolby color space, there's a huge difference, right? You might not need that amount of brightness to be there on your actual monitor, like the Dolby color space, like, so all you have is, in the FX tab in the panels, you can add, right on the timeline track itself, you can add and import an HDRI track. Okay, so if you import an HDR track, it you can either directly import, um, it's like an LUT, or it can be called as, also it can be called as uh, the EDL or an XML, which comes from a studio who has worked on HDRI images from a studio. You can just import the XML file. If you have the Dolby license, you can see it shows that this is a licensed version and you can use it. If you don't have it, then you might not be able to fix it. So if it's a version, if you have requested for a license, or if you have the license installed on the system, you can further go inside and tweak the color space and work on the smaller minute areas of the shots, to balance it according to the Dolby standards. So Flame 2020.21.1 also has a very high, supports the Dolby standards for the Dolby monitors and so on. So here you can see, you can just play very well with these with this color space, and it stays within the standards of the Dolby HDRI monitoring. So all right, and that was some new enhancements on Flame 2021 and 2021.1. I know there are some other enhancements as well, some minute ones in the interface and so on. You can download, for all those who are not well versed with Flame and want to know more about Flame, can download the 30-day trial version of Flame for free of cost. Can work on Mac. Okay, if you have a Mac's hardware, you can very easily enjoy the 30-day trial version. And for education, the 3 years version is available there itself. For people who want to learn more about flame right from the scratch till the advanced tools, the new features, they can go to the Autodesk Flame learning channel. There are tons and tons of materials being recorded by our dear friend Grant K. Most of you guys know him very well, because all of us have seen his videos, training videos. They're really fantastic. So I really appreciate if you guys can just have a look at the videos and learn more about it. Yeah, we also have Meet the Flame artist. To learn more about this, you can go to the area, the logic group, which is very popular on the Facebook. So be a part of it. A lot of flame artists do post their new works, the tips and tricks on the logic group. I know a lot of our Indian users are also very actively, involved in the logic group. So yeah, that's fantastic. So cool, guys. If you guys have any questions for me to ask about this, please feel free to shoot. We might have, okay, we don't have a poll question today, but if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. I don't know whether Eddie is there in this in today's session. Eddie had requested last time that he would like to see a 3D workflow, right? A file which comes from 3ds Max inside Flame. So what I did was, inside 3ds Max, I created a chair, basically a chair file which I already had, and I saved it as an FBX file. Okay. So when I save it as an FBX file, you can go inside the node bin. This is a very common uh, tutorial where you can just search for where the file is, and I need to see where the file is. It's saved here, and it's an FBX file, if you can see here. If I have any kind of animation, if I have any kind of lights, if I have any kind of camera movements, I can switch these off because I want them also to be imported. Right now I don't have a camera, I don't have a mesh animation, I just have the model. That's okay. I want to keep the lights on, but it's not going to work for sure. I'll tell you why, the reason. So if I select chair for flame, and I'm just going to say import, just hoping to see, oh, sorry, my bad, I didn't select the file, I guess. So I'm just going to go back to import chair for flame and models as well. The model was switched off currently, so I'm just going to just hold on for a second. All right. Yep. So the model of the chair is already here, and yes, of course, it's purely looking like flat surface because we don't have an active light inside this. So when I just import the light, I make the shading on, it gives me the actual feel of the chair, right? Of course, uh, there was no textures included because the PBR shaders which I use in Max would not be uh, supportive inside the Flame as of now, because Flame has its own shader support. If I had just used the normal textures, normal materials, I could have got that easily. Here you can see I have the Arnold light which got imported along with this file, but it really won't help me much because I will have to use my own set of lights in the scene, so that which will actually interact in the scene. And if you want to apply some materials, what you can do is you can just go inside the maps and say apply a substance PBR. We have tons and tons of materials. Let's say I want something like leather, so let me just go inside the leather and say fine leather. Let me see how it looks. uh, okay, sorry, I forgot I'm working on Flame because I keep jumping from applications to applications. Okay, you can work with the intensity and make sure that the quality of leather looks perfect, because if there is no enough light, it will not look good. Let me just make it live 3D. And you have the substance material, which you can just play around with it if you want to change the color of the texture of. Gets too brighter. I'm just going to make it more maybe grayish. Yeah, this should be fine, or depends on what color am I interested in. Then you have the base color. Sorry, you can change the base color to much more darker, and have a secondary color. You have the normal map, you have the reflection map, you have all the things which you can tweak on, and then this is ready to use. If you want to export this as well, you can save this as um, an FBX file. I think it should be somewhere. Sorry, not here. You can. I remember there's a place where you can just export this to an FBX somewhere here, and you can import it back inside 3ds Max if you want to do some manipulation. So that's quite possible to do it inside Flame. All right, guys, I didn't see much questions asked on the poll, on the chat box. Okay, let me see. There's one more area. Cool. Okay, I see some questions popped in here. Um, Hey Parag, good to see you, man. I took your name. I don't know whether you were there when I spoke about your thing. Like, do we? Okay, Rajat is asking me, can we copy from clip to another clip by any command also? Yes, Rajat, I was not showing the command tools, I mean like the hotkeys, because when I use keyboards, none of us can see none on the webinars what am I using. But yes, you do have keyboard shortcuts to copy it. You don't really have to save it in the FX tab. I have, okay. So can we pick highlights also? So Rajat, if you're talking about the secondaries, which we spoke about, absolutely yes, because I didn't do any keying, because all the keying which I was doing was using shapes like Gmask, circles and all. But you can key them. You can key the highlight, you can key the shadows, you can key the midtones, and extract that as secondary matte. Uh, so Edward is asking, is there one more character in foreground? Do we have to separate it? So yeah, Edward, there was a example where I think what you're talking about is two characters, one, and we are removing a matte of one character, and somebody walks in front of it. Um, it really tries to keep the previous shape intact. Okay, even if somebody is walking in front past it, and you get a matte of that other character as well, because it detects the entire body. And then yeah, you have a poll questions on your screen. Please try to you know uh, answer for the poll questions, and I will be answering each and every question. So yep, Eddie, more or less, if there is a character passing by in front of the character in which you are removing a matte, there is a 60% chance that you will get an accurate matte, but there is 40% chance that you might have to do some manual job. But yes, it is possible. Malcolm, so work from home updates in Flame is Malcolm. There was, yeah, I really understand. Um so there are two things. A, you have a hardware at home. B, you can, most of the Flame artists, not just in across the globe but also in India, are using remote sessions to touch their systems which are in office. So couple of it's basically like having a remote session, right? So a lot of people have used HP technology. They have a better remote. There are many of them. There are Amazon services as well. There is an Nvidia service as well. So you can have any of these, like virtualization done from. So people, you just need a normal laptop, which we have it at home, that will be actually touching the hardware of your office. And you can use them remotely. So that's what currently is a lot of people are doing. Otherwise, you have a Mac laptop, which is perfectly good to use 2021. I'm using a Flame, which is a Mac, which is maybe 5 or 6 years old, and Flame 2021 was perfectly working fine for me. At least the editorial part, the color grading part, and the secondaries were not bad. So Kumar, the power grade cannot be exported to any other grading softwares currently. You can, there was a way where you can export it to, there was a workflow between Baselight and Flame. So you have a Baselight plugin where you can install it on Flame, and if it's a licensed one, you can export the color information and bring it inside Flame. So if you have just one or two shots which needs fixes, so you don't need to ask the colorist to redo it again or something like that. You can just take the color information and apply it on your thing. Eddie, yes, of course, and I can also share. Okay, uh, if you want to have a look at the presentation, like similar presentation. Okay, I would just say, okay, I guess you can see my screen. Up close and personal with Flame 2021. Even if you try it on YouTube, you will find the launch video of Flame 2021, which was, I think, a month before. You should find the entire details, exactly the same video which I showed, not the demo part of the which I showed on the system, but all the videos are available on YouTube. Also, if possible, we will try to share this demo recordings also with you guys who attended. Yes, Prakash, you can use LUT effects because you have a separate effects tab on a LUT tab on the effects tab, which has been there for quite a lot of versions now. Manish says color space. Is there any update on luster? No, Manish. Actually, if you see, if you see the quite like previous few versions, the entire luster features we have tried to incorporate inside Flame and try to make sure that all the Flame artists and the luster artists can do both the jobs, like compositing and color grading both. I know it's a different ball game altogether. Like grading is still separate task and job, and a very exclusive um, thing with the artist, and also the compositing is since it's an exclusive task. But then still we try to merge Flame and luster together by adding all these fantastic tools which are now available inside Flame, which you have already seen it inside luster quite some time back. Srinivas, yes, absolutely. FX mode, you can import. So ACS, when you say ACS metadata, you have to have a workflow because you can image tab. So FX is nothing but an image tab, right? Inside or before that, you can apply your LUT and change your ACES color transformation, and then start working on the on the color on the image effects basically. Inside the effects, you also have color spaces, like you want to work on log, you want to work on linear, or you want to work on any other color space. You can choose and have your workflow set. Additional info on stereoscope. I am Muthu Kumar. There is nothing much on the stereoscopic uh, effects right now. We have the stereoscopic camera, we have stereoscopic grading, we have I think most of the required tools already been there, which was incorporated in Flame, I think from version 2015 or 16. I'm not quite very sure, but it's been there for quite a long time. So yeah, Malcolm, your question is how is the performance over the VPN over work from home? Okay, I won't say it is as seamless as you're working on the system in the office. yes, there is a slight lag, like of a millisecond, fraction of seconds, but it's not bad. So as compared to a low-end hardware, working on a low-end hardware, if you have a high-end system in office, I think a VPN, like, using a remote desktop would be much more efficient and faster. We can have a quick chat on this because I know some couple of customers in the ad commercial industry in Mumbai are using it, I think from past 2.5 months. So Muthukumar, film restoration tools or plugins? Not really. We basically, Flame has always been uh, editing and finishing tool and compositing and VFX tool. Um, Film restoration is a big, lengthier process and task. We don't have much except paint and roto and stuff like that. But yeah, we don't have much tools for film restoration as such. Hey, good to see you, Rohan. All right. So, with the interest of time, okay, there is Rama Mani. Is it same like 3ds Max? I know 3ds Max. Can I learn Flame easily? Okay, so Rama Mani is, as you're a 3D artist. Learning a compositing tool will not be difficult because you already know 3D. So Flame learning is easy curve, and it's the user interface is being kept so easy that it becomes much more it's very simplified environment. And if you know the basics of editing and a little bit of compositing, you can just learn Flame very easily. And as I said, you have tons of resources on the web as well. If you go to the Flame learning channel on YouTube, you'll see the basic learning Flame video tutorials as well, and you can uh, just grab it. So Edward says, can we have a session for Flame made for working with different file formats? Okay, Eddie, we can have a chat and you can explain me about what exactly, and then we can have a session on that. Cool. So with the interest of time, I think we'll have to log out now, but I know most of you guys can just directly be in touch with me, and then I would be more than happy to answer your questions. So no Prakash Cube conversation, like the DCI conversion is not available on Flame yet. Possible to see proper color space if we attach an HDMI output of laptop to a professional. Prashant Singh is asking, I think, professional monitor. If it's professional monitor, yes, Prashant, yes, you can connect the output of a laptop to a professional grading monitor, and then you can see the right output. For 3D look dev over here. So when you say 3D look dev, you mean to say, so the entire software is based for look and development. Like, you can do color correction in 3D space. So yes, if you, Jigyashu, if you want to go to the Flame channel and see look dev in 3D space in Flame, you'll see tons of resources, and I think that would answer your question. If you have still doubts, I think you can reach out to any of us in Autodesk. So all right, guys, so this should be the last one, and next time also we would like to do some fantastic sessions. We would like to see you guys and have some fantastic feedback from you. So till then, we would like to take a break now and see you guys soon. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me. You guys must be having my email ID as well. It's samit.chetty@autodesk.com, and I would be happy to answer your questions. So till then, be safe and take care. Thank you so much.